Cool. So, React Router. Why do we need it? What is it? So what do we mean by the concept of routing?
That is helping us to navigate the user.
Yeah, so I think everyone in here has used the web, right? It's safe to say. Usually when we go on a website, in this address bar at the top, there's some sort of URL or URI, right? Some unique reference so we can access the pages on the web. And when we click on some links around the page, then that link up the top will change and the content of the page changes. Yeah, so going back to the very original concept of the hyperlink, yeah, you click on a link and some content changes. It loads a different document, or in some case, the whole page changes, yeah, loads a different page or loads part of a page. However, in React, we're used to building, well, historically it was used to build single page applications. So maybe something that you just scroll down and that's all there is to it. So that's fine if your site is very small and you don't need to click any links, or maybe just the links that you do click just take you to another part of that page. But if you have a larger site like the one we were just on, which is one of the deployment methods we'll look at later on in the course, then there's a lot of information there. So you can't possibly display it all just on one page. Or if you did, the user would have to scroll for a long time, or you'd have to use other sort of links to navigate. But it could get messy quite easily. So because React was used to just build single page applications originally, often ones with this sort of scroll interface, then out of the box, it doesn't support routing because it's loaded into a single page, right? It's loaded into a single HTML page. So if you went to a React project, that single HTML page is inside of public in index.html. There are no other pages there. Your whole React application is rendered through the root div inside of that index.html page. So it doesn't always make sense to have routing. There's no pages to route to. Yeah? However, if you want to mimic the behavior of other apps and larger websites you want to create with React, then we need some sort of routing. So one of the most commonly used ways of getting routing in React is something called React Router or React Router DOM. Documentation for it is there, reacttraining.com/React Router. When you go on there, you get two options, one for web and one for native. So we're just interested in building web components in this course. So make sure you click the web option, and that will then give you all the documentation there. So in this workshop, we're going to highlight just a few of the components that come bundled with it. But first, we need to look at how to install React Router DOM. Anyone any ideas? How do we install any extra dependencies for our project usually? We definitely need to import it, but first we need to actually get the files. So from GitHub, you could do it from GitHub, yeah, but how do we usually get a new node module?
NPM?
Yeah, a new node module or a node package we can get using NPM. Just ignore those warnings for now. So we type npm react -router -dom. I didn't like that. Oh, yep. So npm install, React Router DOM. So before you use React Router, you will need to run that command so that the specific React project you're building installs that inside of its dependencies and gets the necessary files. So there, React Router DOM. Do you do what, sorry?
You have to use it for once, or every time I go there.
For every project that you create, you will have to run that command. Once you've created it for the project, it stays there. Yeah? Yep, so once you run that command, you should now see it in your dependencies, React Router DOM there. Awesome. So, let's look at doing it quite an old way first, and then we'll show how you use React Router DOM to accomplish the same thing. Or a better thing. So, this was the page I showed you earlier, someone's portfolio, a past student's portfolio. So we can just see that they've got various components. One for the header, one for the home page, about, skills, my projects, and a footer. Yeah, fairly simple setup for a portfolio site. So all of those components are being created. But at the moment, notice that we do not have any sort of menu or navigation bar. Okay? Makes sense to have one, yeah? So that the user could just click About Me, and it would straight away scroll down to the About Me section. How do we do that? Well, her navigation bar is contained in the header.js. And there's a little div here ready for the nav menu. So how would we usually create some links in HTML? Just plain old HTML first. Link tag. Is there a link tag in HTML? It's the anchor tag. There is a link tag, but that's for including external references. That's for including external files. Yeah, like style sheets and things like that. So to create a hyperlink, it's the A tag, the anchor tag, yeah? And then we give it a href. And if we want to navigate to something on the same page, what's one way of doing it? Using an ID. Yep, so the hash means find the ID on the page with the name of, and let's say we've got about. Yep, that'll do. Let's give that some text so it can say About Me, and let's wrap it in a header, not the biggest one, but maybe a h3 tag. Alright, now hopefully if I've set everything up correctly, that should now be displaying on the page. It is indeed an About Me section, and if we click it, it takes us down to the About Me section. Cool, so no worries there. Of course we could repeat that for all of the links. And we would get all of the links displayed on the page. Yeah, home, About Me, skills, and my project. Click on home, should whip us back up to the top. Nice. So there's nothing wrong with using that approach for a very simple website like this. Yeah? It works, it does the job, and you don't have to install any extra dependencies such as React Router. However, the content's always on the page. Yeah? All the content is always on the page. Now, depending on the way you're designing, you might not want that. So we need to look at how we can just load certain content based on the user selecting a certain route. So now if we put a load of nonsense in there, it's fine. It doesn't redirect us or give a 404 error. And then if we give a correct link, such as /about, and it takes us to the correct place on the page. Alright, so how about if we didn't want to display all this other content initially, the About Me, the skills, and my projects. The user had to actually click on that. Do we think that's a good idea, that we force the user to click for a simple site like this, or should it already be available? Preference, personal preference, but how about if we're developing for mobile first? What are most people used to doing on their phones? Just scrolling, right? It's good to have the links there as well, but usually don't forget on a mobile phone that would probably just be a hamburger menu, so they'd have to click, open the menu, and then click again to find the relevant bit of content. I think for something like this, it's quite nice to have the scroll there still. So I would favour the original approach of the developer here, rather than loading separate content into the page. But I'm just using this as an example to see how routing works. And hopefully you can see the use cases when we're building a bigger site, such as that, and we have to change the content that is being displayed in here. All right. So, we have now installed React Router DOM. And that comes with lots of ready-built components, right, that the creators of React Router DOM have created for us. And if we want to use some of them, yep, it's just a case of doing an import from React Router DOM. So the first thing I want to change is to change our anchor tags from anchors to links. Yes, there is something called link, a component called link from React Router DOM. So we just import it like that. We need the curly braces because it's not a default import from React Router DOM. I think Ricardo probably mentioned this a little bit on Friday. Hopefully he did. Yeah, default imports and non-default imports. Yeah, awesome, good. Okay, so once that is imported, we can just replace our link. Just do it above so we can see the differences. I'll zoom in slightly. Get rid of that for now. So it's just a component. Needs a capital. Then rather than using href, it uses the attribute to. Yeah, link to. And in there, I'm going to drop the hash. I'm not going to use the hash this time. I'm just going to give it, because that's one disadvantage, I guess, is that when we click on those links, we do get hash about, which is not great. It'd be nice if it just said about, I think, but it's a necessary evil and we can live with it. It's not too bad. So I'm just going to create a link to home, /home. And that's it, essentially. We should still wrap it or give it a header title. So we open our link, and this time inside of our link, that's the way it works, we stick our header. So now what are we going to see on the page if I reload that? Hopefully. 2 home things to click, yeah? You should not click, yes. But because we're using one of these higher order components from React Router DOM, then they only work if we wrap our whole application or the section where we're using routes in this other higher order component called browser router. There are various types of router components that come with React Router DOM. The most common one you'll see is browser router, so that's what we're using here. So I'm just going to uncomment that. So that's the syntax for it, yeah? Your whole app you would wrap in this browser router component. You might commonly see it aliased. So people do browser router as router. And then of course you would just call it router, like that. Yeah, either way is fine, but just be aware that you often see it written like that. They're just using an alias so they can use a shorter name. Alright, so now if we have a look at the site, still not, so what we got now, let's see what happens, failed to compile, index.js. quite sure about that one. Okay, so I'm not quite sure what that was, but kill the server, start it again, it works. So it wasn't a code issue, something else was going on under the hood. And yes, we do have two homes there. So one links to the /home, and the new one we just created links to home. But if I click on the new one, you'll see the URL changed, but nothing happened. Well, you probably expected actually, because obviously we're on home. But let's say if we went to the About Me and then click home, still nothing happens. Yeah? So we've set up the link. The link tag just does that. It creates a link on the page. We need to define a route to specify what happens when people click on that link. So these two come in pairs. The link creates the actual display and shows what path to link to. Then we need a route component to decide what happens when that link is clicked on. So if we jump back in to the code, I'm just going to replace all of our hash links now. With our other ones, with our React Router links. Cool, just check on the page, they're all still there. Good, but they shouldn't do anything at the moment. Excellent, but we can see them. Now, inside of our router component and inside of our app.js file, let's create some routes. So at the moment, these components are always being displayed. Which ones does it make sense to always display? The what ones? The menu ones, yep. So the menu is inside the header. So I think it makes sense to always display the header. And why don't we always display the footer as well, yeah? But these others, initially we want the home page to be displayed, but then when the user clicks on something, let's just display that specific page. Yeah, if they click on About Me, they see nothing else but About Me with the menu and with the footer. Yeah, so rather than scrolling down to see the content, when they click that link, the only thing on the page is the About Me. They won't see skills or projects, and they wouldn't see this sort of landing page anymore. Yeah, so that's the kind of setup that you can get with React Router. You're just loading a specific component in this case, right? But the component represents the page. Okay. So for that, we need another component from React Router DOM called route. You know, I said they come in pairs, link and route. So I'm going to create one of those. And it takes a path attribute. And the path must match the to attribute in the link tag, yeah? So the path to home is usually just going to be a /, right? That's the root. When someone clicks on your page, that's what you want them to see. And we tell them what to tell the app what to load by putting a component attribute in there. And this is actually component with a little c this time. And we put that equal to the variable name that represents the component. In this case, home for the home page. So I wrap it in curly braces because it's a JavaScript variable and type home. I don't need anything else for now, so I'll just close my route. All right. What are things going to look like now? What do I hope they're going to look like? two home pages, two landing pages, just one on top of the other, and all of these other ones are still going to be displayed at the moment. Yeah, two landing pages on top of each other. So that seems to have worked. Let's get rid of the old home. Okay, so nothing's changed yet. I've just changed the syntax. However, if I'm now further down the page and I click home, no, nothing's still happening. Okay, let's finish it off first, and then we'll come back and debug it if necessary. All right. Oops. So we need all of those, and we need an about component. We need skills, my projects, and the path to each of these must of course match our links. So we got /about, /skills, and /projects. Get rid of those. See what happens. And there's just one thing being displayed now. One component being displayed. I can't scroll down. I'm trying to scroll down. If I type /about, then I've got the home page and the about me page. That may or may not be what I wanted. If I type /skills, I get the home page and the skills page. Don't know quite what's happened to the footer, but never mind for now. So our routes are displaying both the home page and, let's say, the about page, right? When we're on about link, when we're on the about route. How do I just display about? Or why is home still being displayed?
I think we need to specify the path for home. Because right now there's only a slash. So it shows, as long as there's a slash there, it's always going to show the home page.
But if I put home like that, and then when my user first goes to the site, they're just going to be on localhost 3000, they're not going to see anything. So that's not a valid solution. It's fine if they click home. Or about, or skills, or my projects. That's cool. But when they first go there, if we just put /home rather than giving it a / on its own, they will see nothing, which looks terrible. Yeah, it's not a good user experience. See nothing, blank page, but we've got a menu, so it's not too bad, but it'd be nice to have that landing page there. So I like having just a / for the home component. Yeah, that makes sense, because now when they first navigate to the website, boom, they see something. However, when they click about me, I want them just to see the about me component. I don't want to render 2 routes, I just want to render 1. So there's a little keyword or another attribute that we can give it. Exact. Yes. And if we put exact in here, yeah, so that's because my link doesn't work. So now when I click on About Me, it just displays the About Me page. Yeah, I click Skills, just the skills, my projects, just the projects. The home at the moment is taking me to /home, which is not correct. So where do I fix that? Not there, because we want that as soon as the user goes on the page to see the home component. So where do I change that link? Back in header, and let's not have /home when someone clicks on home. Let's just have a /. Now, hopefully, we're going to get the correct behavior. So that's the root of our app. We just see the home page. Click on About Me, just About Me, Skills, My Projects, and back to home. Seems to work. Yeah? So now I've got no option to scroll. Whatever the content is just there straight away. Obviously, it doesn't look very good if it's just a very, very tiny section like that. But of course, if you had a bigger website, then there's going to be a lot of content on the page. And this way of displaying things makes sense, right? Wherever you click on, you just see the content immediately. And there's nothing else or very little else to distract you apart from some navigation elements. Yeah, similar to what we saw again on this sort of site. Yeah, the content just gets displayed differently. All the other components stay the same. All right, the menu bar, the navigation, the search, this sort of breadcrumb trail is always still there no matter what we click on. But this main section, this main div gets changed. All right. So that was good. Any questions at that point? And then we'll take it just one step further, I think.
The header tag.
The header tag.
Yeah, I thought all the roots would be the header tag, but it's separate. You've got a header tag, then you've got the roots underneath it.
Sorry, I was just adding our footer back in because I wondered where it had gone. Oops. So you're saying that you expected the routes to be in the header?
Isn't that what the menu is?
The menu is in the header, yes. So this is the header file with the menu plus a few other icons and stuff above it. But if we want something to always display on every single page of our application, then we do not need to put it inside of a route. Yeah, so header will just now always be displayed. It sits outside of the routes. These bits are dependent on what page we're on. If we're on the home page, we just render the home component. Yeah, but header and footer are always there.
So they're conditionally displayed, they're conditional displays.
The routes are, header and footer are not conditional, right? They're just always there. There's no condition opposed on them. Routes are conditionally displayed based on the path. If the path in the URL address bar in the browser matches, then just display a certain route. Just display a certain component. Yes, if you like, that's a way of conditionally rendering components using routing. If I wrap what in a header tag? So you want to do this? Doesn't make sense to me. Sorry, wrong place. Let's get rid of that line 83 error. Well, that's just my commented out stuff. So. Okay, will it work? So we're on skills and nothing is displaying. On home, nothing to display. Yeah, so it doesn't work, right? Why? I'm going to struggle to explain why, probably, but it just didn't make sense to me. So inside of your header component, you've got some routes. Yeah, I'm going to struggle to explain why, but just don't stick routes inside another component apart from the one that you've wrapped the router with, yeah? No more questions? Yeah. So that still works, right? Even without the exact on about me, skills, and my projects. And the home only loads the header and the footer and the home component. So I would only need an exact on this one. Let's say if we had I'll do something a bit weird, but I'll put another sub address there and render the my projects there. So now we've got a /skills, a /skills/projects that also renders the my projects component. When I navigate to /skills, what's going to happen? We just get skills once. However, if I navigate to skills /projects, what's going to happen? We get skills and projects being displayed. It's probably not what you wanted. So again, you could use exact on that one. Then when you go to skills projects, it doesn't match /skills/projects. Does that make sense why we needed the exact for the home but not for the others? Because there are no sub routes coming off of it, yeah? So this matched /skills because part of the route was just /skills before, yeah? But if you put exact, it has to only contain /skills. So if it's got anything else around it, like /projects, then the original /skills component won't get matched.
So the best practice to always use the examples.
Say again.
Best practice to always use the examples to make sure you
Well, only when you need it, right? I mean, look, you could put it on all the others and it's not going to break it because they are exact routes. Yeah. But I just like to put it where I actually definitely need it. But I suppose if you put it straight away, then if you changed your project structure later on, then it should still work, yeah? but it's nice to know what it does, because there might be cases when you're on a subdomain and you want to display two components. You want to display the skills component initially, and then maybe a JavaScript skills specific component afterwards. So you want to actually match both /skills and /skills.js. Imagine that is just like similar to what we've got on the training platform. Yeah, we've got all of the options displayed. So maybe you wanted all of those training options displayed at all times. Even when you were doing the JavaScript questions, there was just a menu at the top to navigate straight away to CSS or something like that, yeah? Then that would make sense to render both the skills and the skills.js component at the same time. And to do that, we could leave it that way. You might actually want that landing page always there, in which case remove the exact. But understanding what exact does gives you the freedom to choose. What happens now if I put some nonsense route in that doesn't exist? Nope, it still matches the skills, right? Because it still matches the /skills there, which exists. If I put exact there and put all that nonsense, nothing gets displayed. Yeah, so maybe for that reason exact makes more sense, and then you could write something to handle when someone types a nonsense URL in. Yeah. So you might do, if someone typed a skill that didn't exist, like, I don't know, I'm making it up now, Java Ruby, mixed two programming languages. Then you can do something called dynamic links. So maybe there are lots of skills in here. It's a bit confusing with the projects, but I don't really want to change it, so that'll take some time. But now, this dynamic link, and it's dynamic just because I put this colon symbol in front of it, and that means if someone types / and then followed by anything, this component will get rendered. So if I type /skills Java Ruby, it renders my projects. If I typed a load of nonsense, it also still renders my projects, yeah? So that's a way on your movies app that you're creating. If I type in, what did we have before? We had the Matrix. It would still render my list of movies. If I type, or it still render a specific component, right? Maybe your details component. If I typed in a different movie, Avatar, hit that, it still renders the same component. Yeah, so that's good if you've got a component that is dynamic and getting props passed to it. It will render the same component, but you can change the details. So you've got one component and one route for all your possible movies. Yeah, so your route might have been something like /movie, and then the name of the movie, and that route would always get matched if you used a dynamic route such as that.
But the word language,
Yep.
it's not something that you need to write, it's just something that you wrote just to show what it does, isn't it?
Yeah. So I was just thinking of computer programming skills and often you can group them by language, right? So that's why I use language. The semicolon without anything. Yeah, but the only problem with that is if you want to use this route that people have typed in to conditionally render something somewhere else in your application, then you want to have a variable name there so you can grab hold of it. Yeah, just putting a colon means there's nothing to grab hold of and get the input of what the people typed in. Yeah. So I might want to use, if someone typed in the matrix, I might want to use that bit of information to go to my database and get the information for the Matrix movie. Yeah? So I would suggest putting something there. You could just do skill ID or something like that, right? But you might want to use that information later that they've typed in. Okay. Anything else? No? Is that confusing? Is it fairly clear? Oh, you're quiet again this morning.
It's clearer than it seems.
Hey?
I said it's clearer than it seems at first. Like, the syntax looks quite confusing, but when you talk it through, it's actually, it's basically just hyperlinks, which means it's not as bad as it looks in terms of intimidating.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the only solution for routing in React. But this one uses your component syntax again, yeah? All of the bits and pieces of React Router DOM are available to you as components. So if you're comfortable with the component syntax, then it works quite nicely. You don't have to do it that way. If you wanted some other options, I don't think I've got the tab open now, but again, if you just went to reactjs.org, and then I think it's under tools, let's see if we can find it quickly. Test notes contributing. Let's try a search. Some people say that React Router DOM is a bit loaded. Can't find it. All right, I'll send you a link later if I can find it. But there's other solutions as well. You don't have to use React Router DOM, but it seems to be the most common one at the moment. So that's why we're showing you that one. Did you have another question, Muntin? No?
We'll have questions after practice.
Yeah, questions after practice. Okay, fine. Yep. So as well as that option there, for that video, we also did another workshop earlier on, so back in June. So again, you can just go to the Kadiri channel, right? And then at any point, go to the videos, just search routing. And if you click that, you'll see that we've done a few versions of this workshop before, yeah? So that one was done by the students. And then, yeah, these top three are done by us for past boot camps. Yeah, so if I've missed something or something doesn't make sense, maybe have a look at one of those other videos as well, or just come and grab me as usual. Yeah? Alright, we'll leave it there then. Any questions online, guys? Oh, yeah. For the installation, yeah. So make sure you're in your project. So if you're in CodeFlix, make sure you open your CodeFlix folder open. However, I was in this lady's portfolio website, so I made sure that I was just at the root of that project. So it should look very similar to your Create React app. Yeah, you got your source, you got your package.json. And then, once you're at the root of any React project, then you just type npm install. I don't know why it's looking weird. Let me just clear it. npm install, and then it's React router DOM. You could install it globally, but do you really need to? It's not a command line tool, so I generally tend to only install command line tools globally, yeah, so that I can access them anywhere on my system. But React Router DOM is just providing some components for us, so I would just keep that into the actual project itself. You might need to do -- save. I don't think you do anymore, but you used to have to do that to make sure it got added into your dependencies.
Inside the source.
Nope, so not inside the source, so one level up from the source, the root of your project. Yeah, so the one that contains the node modules, the public folder, all of those. So that would just be / Codeflix if you were working on Codeflix, yeah? And run that command there. And as I say, if you do not see it inside of the dependencies after running that command, just add the -- save to make that line appear there. Yeah? Alright. Good stuff. And just bear in mind that browser router, when you're deploying to a static server, can cause some issues. So that's why this person has used React Router hashlink instead, which gives you the opportunity to use the normal link syntax that we looked at, but it will work on static sites like deploying to GitHub pages or now or things like that. Yeah. So you'll probably run into that issue, and I'll tell you how to deal with it when we get there. But just be aware that browser router doesn't always work with static deployment sites. Cool. Thanks very much.